Monster Motivator TV. I'm not even going to say what number it is. I can't believe how much we're climbing. We are in beautiful Encinitas, California. Now, I know when I do my keynotes, I know a lot of people, I ask them if they thought maybe I was originally from Encinitas. But
you are. You sound like
I fit right in. I mean, I blend in.
You walk down the street, they say Encinitas, man.
All over.
Not even Jersey. There's no Jersey there at all.
They just said Encinitas all the way. Maybe Del Mar.
Maybe
depends on that side of the tracks.
Maybe
the side. So I'm excited for this episode, guys, because we are going to bring so much value. You ready for this? I hope you're sitting down. 61 years of entrepreneurship. No, 61 years. Now, you guys know me. You can keep all the knowledge. You can keep all the theory. Put that in your pocket. Zip it up and keep it away. This is all about wisdom. Wisdom is where it's at because wisdom is real. Wisdom came from somewhere. And we have 61 years of nothing but pure wisdom. It's coming out of his ears.
We didn't say pure wisdom. We just said
pure wisdom, baby. I got you. I got you. So this guy's name is Daley Levin.
Absolutely. And
he's going to share with you, introduce himself, share with you where he's been, where he's at today, where he sees himself going. But in between that, as you know, I'm going to pull those golden nuggets out, baby. We are going to really light this up, and we're bringing the juice. So, Dan, who are you? Where you been? Where you at? And why are you here?
Dave, fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. And I have done so many things. In those 61 years, I've lived 1,000 different lives. And so when people ask me, what do you do? It's hard for me to even remember what I do because I have traveled around the world with my thumb.
Okay.
I was a monk for 10 years in a monastery. I was one day away from being ordained a rabbi. I ran a restaurant and a bookstore. I owned a clothing company. I owned a branding company. I owned a coaching company, and I owned a consulting company. I have worked in a market. I have swept floors, and I have done just about everything that I can imagine. And so when someone says to me, "What do you do?" so many times I just wish that I had lived with five houses away from my dad. And I had just gone into my dad's business because that's a simple life. That's the life where,
right? But that's not who you are. So let's really go back. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
I haven't grown up yet.
Okay.
I was born in Philadelphia.
You're kidding.
Philly.
I'm South Jersey. My family's from South Philly.
Okay, so my dad was from South Philly. We were we lived in Cheltenham, Germantown, Mount Airy.
That's where my public adjusting firm was, Cheltenham Avenue, baby. Yeah.
So in the house, we probably walked by each other.
Had a business at Torresdale and Levick.
Yeah. So then we moved, when the neighborhood changed, we moved up to the Northeast. But then what happened is tragedy hit. My dad passed away when I was 13 years old.
Oh.
My mom passed away 2 years later.
Oh, wow.
Same day. 2 years apart, same
day. Same day.
So at the age of 15.
Were they both sudden?
My dad died of a heart attack.
Okay.
My mom, when my dad left, she was lost.
So now you're 15.
I'm 15 years old.
You lost your mom.
Lost my dad and my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a 14-year-old boy and a 12-year-old daughter through my wife, Anna now. Mm-hmm. And I also have a 27-year-old developmentally delayed daughter.
Now, do you have siblings?
I have a brother who's 4 years older than I.
So it was just you two?
Just us two.
Wow.
We moved in. So tragedy creates the most beautiful situation sometimes in the world.
And that's what, say that again.
Tragedy, right? What you think is tragedy creates the greatest opportunity in the whole world.
So, and honestly, that's Monster Motivator TV. That's what it's about because the struggle creates the strength.
Yeah.
Right? Stop running from that struggle. So now, you're 15 years old.
So here what I want to do, and I don't want to change Monster Motivator TV, but I would like to reframe that thought because all my life I've grown up with this thought that we have to go through pain in order to get to pleasure.
So give us your perspective.
The reframe,
after 61 years.
The reframe of that now that I'm finally experiencing. Is that pain will happen. Pain is always going to happen.
Life.
Suffering is optional. We do not have to choose the perspective of suffering.
You know what? And so I'm going to say it in a different way, but we're going to do it but here's where we are.
Totally.
I just did it last. You don't have to, but I highly suggest you play the card that you were dealt to the best of your ability.
100%.
That's to the best of your ability. And we had a kid on last night, Danny Bedford, wasn't supposed to live, can't use his waist from his waist down, cerebral palsy, and go on my homepage, and there he is, made the high school swim team.
Wow.
With no lower extremities.
Don't you love stories like that?
I got the chills.
Yeah.
I got the chills.
And so how are those things possible? How does it work that someone who, we were just talking about it, because Anna's going to do a radio show in Argentina in the next couple of days, and her topic is resiliency. And what causes someone to be resilient?
Love it.
What causes someone to get knocked down and get back up versus those people that get knocked down and stay down? And there's every reason in the whole world why when you get knocked down, you want to stay down.
Yep.
You know that. I mean, and then you get up again and you get knocked again, and you get up again and you get knocked again, and you get up again and you get knocked down again. Just this weekend, we were with a woman by the name of Carolyn Mace. Okay. Carolyn Mace is one of the toughest women I know. Okay. She made her livelihood as being the first medical intuitive. Okay. In other words, what happened is doctors from all over the world did not know what a person had when they came in, and they called her up on the telephone. All she knew was their name and their age. She didn't know their birth date. She didn't do astrology. She didn't do anything. And with 96% not certainty, not 96% accuracy. Right. She told doctors what was going on in their body, and if it hadn't manifested yet, it would manifest in the next month, 2 months, 3 months.
Wow.
And so we just crazy, right?
It's just.
And how does that stuff happen? So here's the beauty. Okay. What I'm doing now is I'm doing this thing called the mosaic. Okay. And the mosaic is about connection. Okay. What we connect to, and it goes right back to what we were talking about. When tragedy happens, what do we connect to? We can connect to the adversity, we can connect to the tragedy, we can connect to the pain, or we can connect to the opportunity and the invitation. Love it. That invitation, if we connect to that, will literally liberate us, and we do not have to suffer. We may have to go through some pain, but we never have to suffer. I have suffered a lot, and when I sat with this woman, Carolyn May, she said, Danny, what's going on? I started to go into my whole little story of violin. This was suffering with Carolyn? Yeah. Literally this past weekend. Oh, so we were literally there this weekend. And she said, Danny, I am so fed up of this story that you keep telling. It's boring. She used the F word. Right. It is friggin'
Not a girl. I like her already.
It is friggin' boring. Stop it already. Stop telling that story over and over again. You have a beautiful wife. You have an incredible thing that you're doing with the mosaic. Connect to what you're doing, not to the mausoleum of the past.
And it's so right. It's what's that story you're telling yourself? And I always call it the game changer. Yeah. And again, different titles, but the same thing. Words. We're still going to find our way, right? 100%. And it's your self coach. What's that inner coach telling you? Because that's who we're with all the time. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Is it uplifting? Is it strengthening? Or is it weakening? Is it damaging? Totally. I love that. So she called you out and said
straight up. And here's for these people that are listening right now. Yeah. Here's the real question. Okay. Do we know ourselves?
Oh, self-awareness, baby, all day long. Right? Right. That's right.
100%.
I mean, we can't be any more.
I know. That's why I love.
We can't be any more.
We only knew each other for a few moments, and I came up to this monster man, and I said, "So I just want to get to know you more, because this guy, you are me in a more fit body and a more effervescent, Jersey shape."
Because it's real. It's life. It's real.
100%.
It's real, right? 100%. Self-awareness, and then the self-awareness, the level of awareness you have as a leader in your people. Right? And it doesn't mean business, your family, whoever that is, right? Understanding who you are. And I always go this way, right? Understanding who you are, enhancing your weaknesses, right? And I have a laundry list, so it's easy for me. And doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down on your strength. Fabulous. That's the key. Fabulous. What do you think?
Bam, right. I mean, it could be a better looking face saying my story. That's all. And just words are so important, but they're not that important at all. And the way I would say it, just very simply, but completely sympathetic to what you're saying. What's the mosaic really about? Okay. It's about connection. How do we connect to ourselves? Are we honest enough to tell ourselves the truth? Are we honest enough to look at the stories we tell ourselves and see, do these stories empower us or weaken Do they drain us of our energy or give us energy? How do we connect to our wife, our family, our community? How do we connect to the environment? How do we connect to our source, to our creator? What is the connection we choose to make in every single situation?
And the key words, right? Let's underline this. Let's highlight this. Let's get neon signs on this. What did we? You have to own it.
Totally.
If you don't own it, you're never getting anywhere. You have to own it, right? And just here's the other thing. Since we're talking about self-talk, I love this. Don't think it's always got to be negative, right? That we're talking about. What I mean by that is, okay, she called you out and she said, Danny, it's boring, it's friggin' boring, and stop it already.
Bam!
But here's the thing. You also, if you're going to do that, then to be fair, you have to give yourself that credit when you do have that right story. And I think a lot of people they miss that because they feel guilty, they don't feel worthy. Yeah. And now we're getting into my real world, which is self-image.
Yep.
Everything. I always say you can build it up, you can tear it down, but you cannot outperform your self-image.
Wow.
So I believe that's everything. It's our stop. I call it this. It's our anchor, or it's our propeller. But it's up to us to decide what that is.
So this is really interesting.
I love this. And
I like.
They might even let me back in Encinitas.
You're always welcome here. Brother. And this dialogue, whether we're on Facebook Live or we're just face to face, or we're just having a beer or a coffee or whatever we're gonna have, okay? It has to continue because what you said is so powerful for me.
Okay.
Because for most of my life, I don't really give a darn what anybody else thinks about me. I'm okay with who I am. Mm-hmm. The main problem I have is the destroyer that lives within me. Mm. You can't say anything worse than what I've already told myself.
And you're in the majority.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
And that's 100%. Why we're here, right?
100%.
You're in the majority, and it's not about, because I hear it all the time, right? Monster Motivator. You must always be motivated. You must always have a great day. It's not about that, right? But it's about building your level of awareness in yourself to be able to get out of that funk much quicker than you could before.
100%.
So she gave you tools over this weekend.
She said, look, when you see yourself going into that place, literally just stop. It's that simple. When you see yourself starting to say that story, when you see yourself hearing your same story repeating, just shut the hell up and start telling a different story.
Yes.
It's just that simple.
Just reprogram.
Just
I love it.
The machine.
I love it. Is she local?
She is. No, she's in Chicago. She travels all around the world.
Man, I'd love to have her on.
Oh, yeah, she's big time. But here's the thing that caught me with this whole self-image stuff, because I feel people and I feel what you're saying is true. I feel it. I felt it in myself for a long time. The interesting thing about the mosaic and what I'm doing is I've always been somebody who said, you've got to change from inside. Who you are inside. If you change inside, you'll change outside without a doubt.
It's law.
So it's law, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing that came to me through the mosaic that I had never seen before. When you change the outside, the inside has to change in order to connect to it. So if you start changing the pieces around you, if you start gathering around you the people that have what you want,
the environment
that you have, and Yogananda, who's in Encinitas, who has a big shrine here, he said environment is stronger than will. And so when you are in an environment that leads you into despair, you will walk into despair. But a mosaic, here's the beautiful thing. You got all these pieces sitting together, okay? All you have to do is start changing some of the colors, and you start bringing the blues all here together. And guess what? Now you have a different picture. And you can, I would always have fought you. For all these years, I would have fought you and said, you changing the outside is not going to change the inside. Come on, dude, you got to change from inside. I live it inside out. My whole motto was live an inside-out life. But here's what I found, and I'd be interested to get your feedback on this. A lot of people who live inside out do not have an outside-in life. They don't have the abundance. They're struggling. They don't know how to connect to the outside world. And a lot of people that live outside in don't have an inner life. And so everything they have, there still doesn't mean anything.
There's no fulfillment.
Because they don't have that fulfillment. So the real life is not an inside-out life or an outside-in life. It's both.
It's a
and when you thrive inside out and outside in, and you allow the world to affect you, and you to affect the world, and you watch that effect. Because if the pieces around you are affecting you in a bad way, change them.
And I call that living in a courageous state, because anything else is fear-based.
Yeah.
When it comes, whether you're afraid of what they think of you, or you're afraid you can't do it, it's still a fear-based mentality. So what you're saying, when you combine those two,
Yeah.
it's a courageous state, because I don't believe there's anything. I believe fearless is just the wrong word. It's a wrong. Fear is going to happen, but how do you identify and handle that fear? Here's the other thing I want to hit home, right? That you said, if you're not sure how powerful your environment is, I have to ask you one question. Danny grew up in Philly. I grew up in Jersey, Philly area, right? We speak a certain way, right?
Totally.
But if me and Danny grew up in England, will we sound like we're from Jersey?
No.
No. Will we talk with our hands?
No.
No. That's what environment does, right? So I've been out here since 2008. I start to notice, right, that my accent gets to be a little bit watered down.
Yeah, you're
because
starting
of
to
my
talk
run.
like a valley drum now.
I know. I don't even know how. I was going to try it, but I didn't want to jack it up. So as soon as I get on the phone to anybody from back east, it goes right back, right? It just, so environment is everything.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And environment is such a powerful place, and inner environment is even more powerful.
So expand on that. Give us something.
Everything that lives out here lives in here. We have a neighborhood here that I live in. You have a neighborhood that you live in. I have a neighborhood of the citizens of my body, the cells of my body that I call forth. You can look, when you start to look at what people connect to, it tells you everything about it. I don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that you connect to the gym.
That's my zen.
You connect to a place where you work out. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to look at me and see I don't connect to the gym.
It's
not right now.
Right, it's not your thing.
It isn't my thing now. You don't know that when I was 35 years old, I ran 48 miles a week and bench pressed 345. Okay, but injuries came, and now I don't connect to that. I don't move now like I need to move. But when you see the connection of people, when you see what they connect to, you understand instantly who they are in this moment. And you understand how they think, what motivates them, what their rituals are, what their practices are. And so if you want to change the way you connect, you need to change some of those things that we do.
To the outside world.
You change the way you connect to the outside, you change the way you connect to the inside. Because what if, here's the beautiful thing, what if everything we believe is not real? What if it's just what we believe?
And you know what? The more I'm here, the more I believe that.
Yeah.
Honestly, the more I believe that.
And how cool is that? Because here's the beautiful thing. When we make a connection, you and I, as of, I'm going to say 4 weeks ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, we didn't even know that each other existed.
Nope.
Okay, maybe I knew of you, but let's say a year ago we didn't know each other existed. Okay?
Exactly.
Suddenly we saw each other, we made a connection. Once we do this, once we make a connection, if we want, we can decide how far that connection goes. If we want to, everything that's connected to this connection of me and everything that's connected to this connection of you can now transfer and can be open and can be available to each other. When we're out here, we have no connection.
There's just nothing.
And there's no way, who you are is not available to me and who I am is not available to you.
Yeah,
And so these seemingly random connections that are made, watch them. Because there is no random connection.
right.
And suddenly, all of a sudden, you meet somebody, or you feel an intuition to talk to somebody, or you feel, I'll be on Facebook sometimes, and I'll just instant message somebody and say, I don't know, if you think I'm the weirdest guy in the whole world, I 100% agree with you. And I have an intuition that we're supposed to do something together, we're supposed to talk. If you want to say no, completely do it. I'm going to tell you, in maybe one time in the thousands of times that I've done that, someone has said, man, I think you're weird. Don't contact me again.
Right.
And they were right.
Right. But that's it.
But that's it. One time in
That's
1,000. So what would happen for us if we actually started to trust that part of us that doesn't know?
And listening to that inner GPS, right? Listening to that intuition. It's like, I compare it, believe it or not, to a muscle.
Yeah.
Right?
Why did that not surprise me?
Shock. So, as you know, the more you use that muscle, the more you rely on it, the
100%.
stronger it becomes.
100%.
The less you rely on it,
100%.
the less the weaker it becomes. And I tie that in to all everyday life and in the business world. In my keynote, I didn't get a chance to really do my keynote at Thrive because we had limited time. There was a gentleman that came into my life, Tommy, that showed me a whole nother world, right? That was available to me for a high school dropout, a kid in jail, the kid always, in trouble. But when I came to that business and I answered that ad, I had no business being there. On paper, I had no business being there. But Tommy saw something in me.
Yeah.
And he listened to his intuition. He listened to his gut, and he blocked out all the outside noise because he had that wherewithal with him to be able to move forward in that. Luckily for me.
Yeah.
So is that?
And I get all that. And so much of that, in my mind, is our story. Because he had every reason in the world. Look at the man you are. You are not your situations. You are not your circumstances. You are not your misfortunes, and you are not your troubles. Just like I am not that. And what happened is one man had the courage to see even deeper than you saw.
Way deeper.
Because he was able to see you and capture you and find you and give you that opportunity. And to this day, how many years later?
It's what, 30 years?
30 years later, you still recount his story here. And because that's the effect we have when we actually see beyond what we can see and we see what most people can't see. That's the connection I'm talking about of the mosaic. See, when we drop the thought that we have to just see the world that is, and we allow ourselves to see beyond that to what nobody else can see, everything becomes possible. The impossible becomes possible. Because what's the impossible? It's just
your
what
perception.
It's my perception, and it's what we haven't seen yet.
Right.
We haven't seen it happen. But in a world like this that we're talking about now, most of the world that we exist, in 1894, they wanted to close the patent office because they thought everything that could be invented had been invented. 1894.
You ready? How about this? 3 years ago, 5 years ago, if I said, Danny, we're going to sit in your living room and we're going to live stream
100%.
to Facebook,
100%.
You're going to say, are you out of your mind? Well, look what they
100%.
did to Marconi,
100%.
right? When he said, we're going to create a box and you're going to put it in your living room, and people are going to talk to you through this box. They literally took him away in a straitjacket. He invented the TV.
Yeah.
And we're living in a time that it's happening by the second.
This is
amazing.
This is the most exciting time in all of creation.
It's unbelievable.
Because we are, look, something happens 20,000 miles away and we know about it in 3 seconds.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And yet, here is the caution. We are so connected in one way and so unconnected in another. In a time where we are connected to more things, more people, more friends on Facebook, more people around the world, we find we have the loneliest people in the world because we're sitting and looking at boxes rather than talking to our neighbor, rather than doing what we're doing here.
Right. And
I just want to ask people, I want to ask myself, in every situation, all we have to do is ask one simple question. Does this empower me or does it weaken me? Because I know what the fancy taglines are. I know what the sound bites say. I know what all the things that we should be doing, we are doing. And doesn't mean it empowers me.
Exactly.
It might be draining me, even though for 99% of the people it's powering.
It absolutely, and that goes back to your level of awareness, right? And this, for me, this is my oxygen. This is my oxygen, right? So I know this is a tool. This is something, but man, when I'm in my office, it is a chore. It is tough for me to stay in that office.
Yeah.
But you let me out. Here's the other thing I learned about myself a long time ago. Oh my! I am screaming. I'm screaming. But the other thing that really I need in my life on a daily basis is motion therapy. I need to be moving.
Like my wife.
Whether that's driving, whether that's walking. I'm walking my dog, right? That's my connection. That's my zen. The gym, right? I need that.
Yeah.
I need that. And this is my oxygen.
Totally,
This is
totally.
my oxygen, man.
I so get it. And so, what is our oxygen? My wife is a mover. She's a runner now. She's like I was when I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
I because of situations that have happened in my body, have limited my movement. And I have movement in the mind. So I need movement too, but if my mind isn't creating, if my mind isn't active, if I'm not writing, if I'm not doing something, then I'm dead. So in the stillness where nobody's around, oftentimes I'll wake up and my wife has gotten used to it now, but I'll wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'll just come and sit down and write, because when the world is quiet, that's when I move.
That's your zen.
That's my zen.
That's your zen.
That's my time. When all the thoughts out here are quiet, I can hear my thoughts. I don't hear the noise out there anymore.
And that's so again, it all goes back to that same thing. It's a different, the same recipe, different ingredients, right?
100%.
So your zen is that 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning when everything's closed off, right? My zen is in the gym.
Yeah.
I have my headphones on.
Yeah.
I'm in my zone. If you met me at the gym for the first time, you would say, "What an asshole this guy is." I don't make eye contact.
Right.
I don't talk.
Right.
I don't shake hands. This is my hour.
Totally.
And I am in a zone, and I am just moving from here to there, because that's my level, you know. And
Yeah.
here's the other thing too: is years ago it was almost taken away from me. I had a real bad motorcycle accident up in Vermont, intensive care, broke everything on one side, could have been paralyzed or killed. And what that did for me, Danny, is it woke me up and it said, tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
So do it, move now.
Yeah.
You know, so
100%.
but I love the fact that it's all about your level of awareness, and you're bringing the heat, brother. We got people typing in like crazy.
Okay.
So we got Lisa James. Glad I could be here to see
Lisa.
you both.
Hey,
Lisa, Brittany, she's a beast. This girl. This girl is an absolute beast.
Okay, beast.
She had to go to. She needed to go to college. She didn't have the money, so you know what she did? She found out that if she went to Spain, it's cheaper.
Wow.
The girl was living out of her vehicle for 6 months, living on $1,000, learning a new language in a brand new country at 18 years old.
Wow. Wow.
Did all that, came back, and is now building her dad's business out here.
Wow.
Beast.
Beast.
Tell him to yell so we can hear his amazing message. So I guess they're
I'm
not.
talking too soft. Is that what's happening?
No, I turned off the volume.
Oh, we turned up the volume. We turned up the volume.
Okay.
So can you hear me now? Say yes if you can hear me.
Are you pulling us up?
Give a few hearts.
Okay, so
Yeah, I already checked.
she's already 13 steps ahead of us. I mean,
And I thought
go.
I was yelling, so I'm a
Atta
gentle.
girl.
I'm a gentle giant.
Can you read the comments
Yes.
coming in?
Lisa, she says, Danny killed me with the sound bites. He saw right through me.
All right, Lisa, you did good. Don't
And
worry.
Jody says, it's so important just to know our souls, to see our souls.
We love you, Jody. Jody, you're our sister.
So people want to know. You know what else people want to know?
No.
They want to know how you're able to go. And I hear this all the time with me too. Is how are you able to go from business to business to business to business, right? Because it's such a fear for people, number one, to even get into business, let alone go from one to the other. Give us a little insight on that.
Again, the beauty of our conversation is what works for one person may not work for another person. And so consequently, what happens for me, I'm sort of an ADD guy. I'm an originator. I'm an initiator, okay? And what happens for me is I'm a guy who breaks down the door, walks in, gets something, says, this is the idea, this is the vision, this is the way. Okay, I'm done with it now. Somebody else take care of it.
Oh my God,
right?
You just did it a few years ahead of me. That's exactly me.
Yeah, well,
That's
and there are certain people. So in my book, there is a character that so the mosaic is about a man who has everything.
Okay.
But the one thing that he really wants. And when he realizes that, he closes the door of his house with just the clothes on his back and the money in his pocket, and he just starts walking. Common wisdom would tell him if he's walking and doesn't know where he's going, he's never going to get anywhere. But this time, common wisdom is wrong because he's not worried about where he's going. He's never been where he wants to be now, which is where he's at, right here in this moment. And so the opportunity allows him now to meet the people that are right in front of him. And so he meets a trash man and a gardener and a waitress. But the person that came up to answer your question that just came up for me right now was the traveler.
Okay.
And the traveler, Mo, is standing in a square.
Okay.
And he's watching the people, and he decides he's going to walk, and instantly, just like one of those spy movies, a person's right by his side. And he gets a little agitated by it. So he increases the pace of his step, and as he increases the step, she increases her step. He slows down as she slows down, and at the same exact moment, as if she's in his head walking through his feet, she slows down too. He stops, she stops. He goes and runs forward. At the same moment, she's running forward. Finally, he stops and looks at her and says, "What the hell is going on?" She says, "In all things, everything is made up of 3 steps. And when I tell you what they are, you're going to say, oh, come on, that's the easiest damn thing in the whole world. But when I ask people, virtually nobody knows what it is. What do you think? People out there, what do you think the 3 things are that make up every single thing that we do in life? Everything. You can't do something without 3 steps involved. What would you think they are?
I'm going to take a stab at it.
Go for it.
I would say thoughts, feelings, and actions.
Okay, neat. Even more basic.
Okay, shoot.
Beginning, middle, and end.
Break it. So give us more.
Okay.
Right.
So in everything that you do has to start somewhere.
Okay.
You might say it starts with a thought. Someone else might say it starts with an action. Someone else might say it starts with a belief. Someone else, but it has to start. When you take a step, you have to lift up your foot, and you have to get ready to move. Everything that happens if you just do that, you're not going to get anywhere. If you just start something, you will never achieve anything, because starting is not completing. In the middle, the middle step determines how far you go, in what direction you go. It maintains that step, and it takes it. Do I want to go to the left? Do I want to go to the right? Do I want to go fast? Do I want to go slow? Do I want to go a long distance or a short distance? What is the caliber of step that I want to take? And that all happens in the middle.
So that becomes the game plan.
That becomes your game plan.
Okay.
That becomes your direction.
Okay.
And then you have to know when to get out. You have to know when to close.
Okay.
You have to know when to stop it for everybody's good, for your good, for the company's good, for the welfare, for the sake of what you bring for what happens. Because in our earlier conversation, we look at everything in life by what empowers us and what depletes us. At a certain point, what we do starts to have a negative impact. We've hit the top of the curve, and we're starting to come down. Now, most people aren't comfortable enough. They're scared to move when they come to that place, and they just sit there and they become good enough. I don't say you have to become exceptional, because exceptional doesn't mean anything. All exceptional really means is you want to break every rule that exists, because the law of nature is ordinary. The law of nature is the sun comes up in the morning and it goes down in the evening. You don't find it being exceptional and staying out all night unless you're in a place where that's what happens.
Right.
And then that's the norm of that place.
Right. That's the environment.
Right. That's the environment. You don't find a place where it's only sunny and it never rains, unless you're in a place where it's only sunny and that becomes the norm. But in a place where it's only sunny and never rains, it's never going to rain every day. So the law of nature follows a law. There's a cause and there's an effect.
Yes.
The same thing happens with our things. When we try to be extraordinary, and this is a huge foundation break for me, because all my life I grew up good enough isn't good enough. Right. We want to be more than we are. We want to be better. You have to stand out. In order to be outstanding, you have to stand out from the crowd. Well, guess what? When you're standing out from the crowd, you're alone. You're not connected to the world around you. And so being ordinary has gotten a really bad rap. Because being ordinary, when you're ordinary, you know that there is something bigger than you of which you are a part of. There's a nature to everything that you do. And you do make an action, you pay a consequence, or you gain a consequence. How many people do you know that are extraordinary that think they're better than everybody else? The laws of nature don't apply to them. I'm going to go to the front of the line because it's me. I deserve this. I'm entitled to this. I'm empowered by this. Well, guess what? Says who? The law of nature is so exquisite that when we become a part of that, we live the life that we're intended to live. And sometimes that law of nature causes an ending place. When that ends, if we don't hold on, if we try and hold on to it, that's where suffering happens. When something begins and we don't want to let it begin, that's where suffering happens, because we think we're extraordinary and we can go beyond the measure of what's actually happening. Guess what? There's one guy, maybe he lives up there, but most likely he lives in here, called God, who can do that. that's the only person that has control, and even he follows the laws of his own making. And it's really an interesting reframe. I would love your thoughts on it, because all my life I've grown up, dude, you have to be outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think, here's what I believe. I believe this. I believe that you have to take, like we talked about earlier, I tell people this all the time, take what works and throw out the rest.
Yeah.
Right? Because my journey is not going to be identical
100%.
to your journey.
100%.
What's going to resonate with you, and also understand, so you don't beat yourself up, is it took Danny a certain amount of years
61 years
to get to this place, right?
Right,
So it
100%.
also depends on where you're at in your life,
100%.
on what
100%.
works, what doesn't,
100%.
what's accepted. So there's no right and wrong.
There is
right?
no right or wrong.
And just like it, here's the other thing that I think will tie into this.
Good.
People always want to know what is happiness? What's the definition of happiness? And what is success? What's the definition of success? Here's what I learned.
Go.
I learned that success is living life on your terms, whatever they are. Happiness is fulfillment. So I believe that when you see that person that has all those things, that's very successful
That's right.
monetarily, right?
Yep.
I'm cool. I love dogs. Successfully monetarily, but they're struggling inside. There's something that's stopping them from being fulfilled.
Yep.
Right? Or somebody that you think is successful, but is doing that grind that they don't want to do. They're not living life on their terms. But you see somebody, maybe outside our country, that is living in poverty, but living on their terms.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
it's all relevant.
100%.
I believe it's all who you are.
100%.
But where does it go back to? Your level of awareness.
100%.
Your level of awareness.
100%.
Right?
So the beauty of a question is when it really makes you think.
Oh my God. Oh, right? And so this is Monster Motivator TV.
I love
Can you, is there any other perspective that might sneak in?
Totally.
Can you see, and it has nothing to do with right or wrong,
Totally.
right?
Totally.
You
Totally.
could say on this whole episode, Dave was completely wrong. He's a moron. He doesn't know what that's okay. That's okay.
Right. But no, and it really is not okay.
Okay, tell me.
Okay.
Tell me.
Okay.
Tell me. Because I knew you were struggling with that.
Because I'll tell you what, there is no way in the whole world that you're a moron or that your belief is not right. Here's what we do. Because we don't know ourselves, because we don't know what's true for us, we put other people down.
Right. Can I jump in real quick?
Absolutely.
So now, Danny, what Danny's saying is you have to know yourself, your self-image. Here's my response to that. What I just said, right?
Right.
They could say, but what I know is completely different.
Totally, but what they say won't touch you because you're already strong. You know who you are.
I know.
But what they say is going to touch them. And so here's
Okay.
what to
Okay,
me.
I like this.
Okay.
I like this.
So here's what happiness is.
But
for
wait a
me.
minute, go back to that. What was that statement? So
What they say, what
About
people
me,
say about you, it
I'm
can't
bulletproof.
touch
Right.
you. You know who you are.
right, leave me alone.
And when you know who you are, people can say whatever they want because it doesn't. Story, if you don't mind the story.
Yeah, bring it.
One of the people Mo meets as he walks along his journey is a gardener. And when he smells this garden already in the evening time as he's walking from miles away. And he says, I'm going to try and get there this evening. And then he gets tired and he pulls by the side of the road and he sleeps. He wakes up early in the morning and the scent is stronger. That's driving him crazy. It's exotic. It has completely seduced him. And he follows that scent into this beautiful little village. And when he comes upon this village, the flowers that he sees, the gardens that are there are the most exquisite. And remember, he's not a poor guy. He's been to every place in the whole world. He's traveled this world. He's been to the most beautiful gardens ever. And there's something about this little garden in this little town in the middle of nowhere that puts him in an ecstatic state that he's never seen anything this beautiful. And it's so beautiful, his senses can no longer take it. He closes his eyes to try and feel it from an internal place. And all of a sudden he feels this close in front of him, a presence, and he opens his eyes, and there's a man standing there. And he says, "What are you? Who are you?" And the man says, "I'm the gardener. What are you doing?" And he said, "I can't tell you how happy I am to meet you. Are you the gardener of these grounds? This is the most exotic, beautiful garden I've ever seen. What is it that you have done to make this garden?" And the gardener looks at him and says, "I'm a simple gardener. The flowers already come in beautiful, and anybody with any sense of style and taste can know which colors of flowers to put together to make them appear more beautiful. So I really don't know what you're talking about. I just plant a field and I create the space for these gardens, for the flowers to be here." And Mo says, "There's got to be more than that." And the gardener sits for a minute and thinks. And he says, "Mo, do you have a garden?" He said, "Yes, I have a beautiful garden, a big garden. That's why I can tell what you've done here is exquisite. I wish you would come and create my garden." And the gardener says, "Mo, you know when you go, do you ever weed your garden?" He says, "Oh yeah, I do sometimes. I hate it. I don't really like weeding it, but I do weed my garden." He said, "When you get to that weed where you pull it and it breaks in your hand, what do you do?" And Mo says, "Well, normally I only have a certain amount of time to weed, so I just take my sort of shears and I cut it so you can't see it from the ground." But so the gardener says, "Maybe that's what you see in my garden. Because in my garden, when I come to that place, I take out my shovel and I dig. I don't have to be anywhere else, Mo. All I have to be is here in my garden. And I know this, that if I just cut it off at the ground, when I water my garden, my flowers are going to grow and my weeds are going to grow. And everything that's beautiful in my garden is at the mercy of those weeds suffocating it underground. So when I take out that weed, I do whatever it takes with my shovel. And I will pull at it until every weed is gone. And there will be weeds that come again occasionally, but then they're easy to take out. It's like taking a piece of hair out of a glass of milk." And Mo sat and he realized that the same situations were coming up over and over and over again in his life. He was dealing with the same things over and over again. He was watering his garden and keeping it clean. And yet he had never pulled out the roots. And so I think it's essential for us to look at what's really happiness. What really makes us happy or unhappy? I'm going to answer you really simply.
Yeah.
When we are connected to self, to spirit, to community, to planet, to lover, to family, we're connected. And that connection, why am I doing the mosaic? I think Steve Jobs said something, I'm probably going to mess it up.
Right, that's all right.
But
I do it all the time.
but I think he said something like, "It's only the people who are crazy enough to believe that they can change the world that actually will."
Yes.
Right?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. I'm crazy because I believe that we can end suffering. Not in 20 years, not in 50 years, not in 1,000 years. We can end suffering right now. My commitment to this connection is, I believe, even though Buddhist philosophy says suffering is what happens when you want things that you don't have, and contentment comes when you're happy with what you have, I see it a little differently now. And who am I to go against Buddhist philosophy, okay? But the mosaic is in me and it's starting to talk to me. I believe suffering now comes from a lack of connection. When we feel this, when we feel disconnected, we suffer. And when we feel connected, we know we're not alone anymore. And when we don't feel alone, the power of what's possible, suddenly the impossible, all these things that we never even knew. This guy, this beautiful gem of a man, how could I live 61 years of my life and not know you were here?
Right. I mean, it's just, but you're right.
Right?
How do you can't argue that because connection is everything.
Connection's everything.
Connection is everything, no question about it. And I also believe that's why we can go in a 24-hour period, feel so connected on one point in that 24 hours and so disconnected,
Totally.
right?
Totally.
On the same 24
Totally.
hours,
Totally.
we
Totally.
could feel so connected
Totally.
and feel so disconnected. And I also believe that in our Western society here and where we're at, so much of that, people let other things and circumstances and other people dictate that feeling.
Yep.
So I'll give you just a simple example, right? How many people approach Friday afternoon and they're ecstatic?
Yep.
Monday morning, the same person in the same car drinking the same cup of coffee is completely and utterly miserable.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
All day long we see that.
Totally.
Isn't
All
it?
day long,
Because
all time
of
long.
the calendar.
Totally.
Because of the calendar.
Totally.
How, it's a, now we talked about, right?
Totally.
We're considered crazy
Totally.
in most realms.
Totally. 100%.
That's crazy.
Totally.
To me. Now, if you want crazy, that's crazy to me.
Well, even let's take that and blow
Yeah.
that out. Because here's what this friggin' mosaic is doing to my head.
I love it.
Okay? It is taking the foundation of everything that is and it's questioning it. What if time were not the time that we know? What if we all decided to add 1 hour to our day? We all decided to do that. We just decided there was going to be an extra hour, a day was going to have 25 hours. That would change our life. We would think that we're achieving more, we're having more time to do things, we would have more time to enjoy our family, more time to get work done, more time to walk, rest, exercise,
Everything.
eat, do whatever we want to do.
Everything.
We let, and I don't have my watch on.
No, but you're right.
But we let this
Yes.
thing dictate our lives because we believe that this is the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's only one dimension. What if there was another dimension to the world that we live in? A parallel universe that operated under a different set of rules? What if healing could happen like that? What if when a guy like Jesus or Buddha, and I'm Jewish, born
Right,
Jewish,
right,
so I'm not,
right,
you know,
right.
I'm not giving a big Christian rap
Right,
here.
right.
But what empowers somebody like Jesus to walk into a room and say, "You are healed right now"? Because he no longer believes in this sense of time that it's going to take 5 years for you to get well. Yogananda, who I studied under, a disciple of his, had a fabulous saying. He said, if you think 3 years, it'll take 3 years. If
Yes.
you think 3 months, it'll take 3 months. If
Isn't
you
it?
think 3 weeks, it'll take 3 weeks. If you think 3 days, it'll take 3 days.
That-
If you think 3 hours, it'll take 3 hours. If you think 3 seconds, it'll take 3 seconds.
Isn't it?
And what would happen? Just here we go again.
It-
What would happen if what we believe is just what we believe, but it's not the reality? What would happen if we opened ourselves to the fact that there could be a whole different reality here? That what we think, the time it takes to get money, to get a career, to fall in love, to get healthy, to get fit, what would happen if we actually believed that that could happen right here, right
And
now?
you create your own reality.
And you create
your
that
own
reality.
right?
That's the courageous zone, right?
But that's the real zone.
That's the real
That's
zone.
the real zone that so many people don't even want to test the waters. They don't even want to put their big toe in the water,
100%.
right? Because
It's scary as shit.
conditioning
100%.
and conditioning. No. It has to be this way. No.
Absolutely.
It has to be that way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so
and so I guess what it says, like what I feel when you even say that to me, I feel my body get like tense, you know,
Right.
because what that means is I no longer have control.
Right.
Like I've lost control
Right.
of my universe, and here's what's happened for me. We started here, we never really told the story, but it's okay. When my mom and dad passed away, my dad passed away when I was 13. I created a story, completely untrue story. I was away at camp, and he was leaving early, 2 weeks before I was going to. I'm sorry. He was leaving 3 days before I was going to camp on a business trip.
Okay.
And he said, "I'm leaving early in the morning." I said, "Dad, I'll wake up. Come on, I'm not going to see you for a few weeks. You know, I'm going to wake up and see you." He said, "Danny, I'm leaving really early." I said, "Dad, I'm going to wake up. What time are you waking up?" 4:30. I'm going to leave. I said, "Okay, I'll see you at 4:30." That day, I overslept. I never saw my dad again.
that was the
So I made up a story. This is the story I made up that was crazy. Had I woken up,
He
my
would still
dad
be
would
alive.
not have died 5 weeks later. Now, is there any possible reality to that story at all? That story stayed with me probably for 30 years.
And that, right, not to stop you, but
Stop.
to check, but that is the ultimate anchor
Totally.
in life,
Totally.
right? No
Totally.
matter how much you
Totally.
hit that gas,
Totally.
that anchor is still,
Totally.
right? You're dragging that with you for 30 years.
Totally.
Then when you step outside and you go, what?
And
Right?
And that anchor, change images real quick.
Mm-hmm.
That anchor becomes the foundation for a house that I build.
Okay.
And I build in my house, I build walls of stories that fit into that foundation.
Okay.
Also untrue.
Right.
And around my walls of stories in my house, other people build houses, and I have now communities of houses around me.
You got
full of
skyscrapers.
I've got skyscrapers. I got villages. I got towns. I got mobiles. I got cars driving across. All of it untrue. And yet our commitment to holding on to what we believe is what is real is just the problem.
Let me do this. You're gonna know. I almost think you're gonna know this story, right?
Okay, good.
And just like with you, with what's his name? I'm gonna jack this story up. So hang in there with me,
I'm
right?
with you.
I'm gonna leave enough bread so you can follow me, right? So there's an old elderly gentleman, and he's sitting out on the end of this road and where the town starts. And there's a guy that comes up and he approaches. He says, "Hey," he says, "I'm looking for a new place to live. How is this town?" He goes, "How was your town you lived in before that you left?" He goes, "It was horrible. Everyone talked about one another. Nobody had anybody's back. Everyone was trying to get ahead of the other guy, right?
Yep.
Horrible." Old man goes, "Man, it's the same thing here." Guy goes, "You're kidding." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I wouldn't recommend you come here." He goes, "You're going to find the same thing." "Thank you so much. Leaves. 2 days later, guy comes up, different guy, says to the old man, "How's this town?" "I'm looking for a new town." He goes, "How was the town you came from?" He goes, "It was beautiful." He said, "Everybody got along. It was just synergy like you couldn't believe.
Definitely.
It was beautiful." He says, "Why did you leave?" He says, "I'm just looking for a new place." He goes, "I think you found your home."
Yeah.
It's what you create.
100%.
Right? It's what you create. So I believe that story encompasses everything you just said here.
Yep.
Because it's your own level of awareness,
Yep.
your own reality that you create,
Yep.
creates your environment.
Totally.
So
Totally.
I jacked the story up, I'm sure, but
you didn't jack it up. You
Okay.
did great. And so I love that because it brings home this simple point of reality is what it is.
yes,
The way we connect to that reality creates our reality. So this stays the same. What we bring to it, our connection to it, changes it in our head. And we go on believing that would have been a lousy town for us to live in or a great town for us to live in.
right?
Simply because we connect to the thing in a different way. Connection is everything, and that's why this image of the mosaic, that's why this book that I'm writing to me, that I've written, and it's sitting at publishers waiting to come out, is so powerful for me. Because when we realize that the connection we have to the life that we live, internally and externally, to the people around us and to the citizens that live within us, creates everything in our reality. And when we connect to the source, that in a moment can connect us to a different time, to a different place, to a different healing, to a different relationship, to a different financial situation,
Different feeling.
to a different feeling.
Different feeling.
Why in the world did we ever believe that we are the doers? Why do we believe that if we work hard enough, we will make it? We will make it. If we struggle long enough, we'll be happy. It has nothing to do with us. All it has to do is who we connect to. If I hold on to the shoelaces of the right person, they will take me to where I need to go. If I hold on to the shoelaces of the left person, they will take me to where I need to go. Right? And it literally is what choices have I made, and what are the consequences? Because I'm not extraordinary. I'm just an ordinary man who follows the laws of nature. This action produces this result. And occasionally there's grace.
Huh? I mean, because you can't argue with the laws of nature. They are what they are, and they're amazing. And when you look at nature and how they do it, is just absolutely amazing, right? How
Yeah.
animals can sense
Totally.
when a tsunami's coming, and we are on the beach getting suntan,
Totally.
and 2 days later we're washed away,
Totally.
and the animals are going,
Why did
they
you
don't
see
get
that?
it.
Totally.
They don't get it.
My brother gave a talk, and he was in front of a group of people, and he showed a slide that was just fabulous. I mean, it was unbelievable. Do you know that when they were doing the memorial service for the people in Orlando that were gunned down, a woman who was a photographer was there, and she noticed a lot of birds flying in the sky. And she took a picture of those birds. And as she captured the whole thing. It was only when she got home that she counted the birds. Do you know there were 49 birds? There was one bird for every person that had been.
Wow.
Now, what happens in this world that we miss all the time?
Always. All
right?
the time.
Because we believe that it's this. What would
All the-
happen if we just dropped what we believe? How much courage does it take to just say, I don't know anything, not that I know everything?
Right.
How much courage does it say to who I am can change in a moment if I open up to the possibilities of what I don't know? The mosaic is that connection to what isn't, along with the connection to what is. Because when we see what isn't, the impossible becomes possible.
I love that, man. And we got some people. Shane, he's a guy from Philly, right?
Good.
Lighten it up.
Yo, Philly!
Millionaires Against Bullying, a
Wow.
tremendous organization. So these guys all got together, and they're supporting, uplifting kids and people that are getting bullied and teaching them how to get past that. Amazing organization, Millionaires Against Bullies. I just had a great conversation with them today. Guys are movers and shakers, doing a lot of great things in the world. So check those guys out. We got Cindy, Marianne. Everyone's agreeing. So important to know ourselves and know Anna Levin.
That's my wife.
There you go.
Hey, baby, you were watching us. Huh?
Hey, so important to know. And she's all about the self-awareness. Absolutely. Lisa James. Lisa James is loving this episode.
Lisa, you're the best.
Yes, change the outside. Your story is you and you're not your story. She wants, and you know, I gotta love Lisa. She wants to know if we could hear her. Actually, we can.
We can hear you,
We
Lisa.
can hear you
We can
loud
hear
and clear, girl. So I want to leave it with. Is there anything I didn't talk about that you just want to mention? That you want to talk about that I didn't talk about? I mean, I know we went really
Yeah.
deep, and I want to end with something too.
Yeah.
But I'd like you to have that opportunity. And if you'd like, I can jump in.
Yeah, well, why don't you go? And
Here's
I don't
what I
want.
wanna
I don't
hit
want to.
home.
I don't want to steal your
No,
lesson.
no. It's not about that. It's
Okay.
about creating,
Okay,
right?
cool.
And I'm glad you went there
Yeah.
because that's what this is about.
Yeah.
Now, if you get anything from this episode, I hope that you get this. Looking from the outside, not knowing us, you would never think that we would have such a connection.
100%.
So don't let that stop you from exploring and moving forward.
100%.
And that is a courageous state. See,
100%.
who would ever think, right?
I would.
But for the most,
Right.
right? Who would think that we would have this kind of connection?
Yeah.
Right? Most wouldn't.
Right.
Most wouldn't.
Yeah.
So if you get anything out of that, live your life in that courageous state, and things are going to open. Opportunities are going to come to you that you never thought was possible because you're open.
Yeah.
You're open to it.
And to me, I just want to put a crown on that statement.
Okay.
Because and I believe the same thing. Because here's really, I pause not because I'm scared or because I don't know what to say.
Mhm.
I pause because I hear a voice inside here that says, tell the people this.
Okay.
Listen to that silence. Let the quiet speak to you as much as the words. Because inside of us is every single thing we need to resolve everything. question what you think. There was a great woman who was running a program called Vistage, and they were trying to recruit me to be a chair for Vistage.
Okay.
And I said, what goes on here? She said, most people come with answers.
Okay.
We come with questions. We question the answers that you give. Because it's in questioning your answers that you have a chance to go deeper into it. If I could say, use this episode, this guy with this crazy hair, overweight guy, and this fit mofo
with no hair,
bald head, right? To say, what you see is not what is. Allow yourself to see what isn't. Because in what isn't, everything becomes new.
Love it. I love it, man. I love it.
This was, I'm so happy to have the chance to sit with you.
And you know what I love about this? It always happens. It never ceases to happen. It's first time, right?
Totally.
We don't know how this is going to go. And it
Totally.
always just is 10 times better than I could even imagine,
Yeah.
right? And because...
But that's a testament to you, because you bring that environment, you bring that realness,
Thank
you
you.
bring that place,
Thank you.
and people feel comfortable in that to bring it too. I do the same thing.
Thank you. And you know what? If that is the case for people, don't be afraid to own it.
Totally.
That's okay.
Totally.
That's who you
Totally.
are,
Totally.
right? That's what you bring to the table. But again, this episode did not cease to amaze me where we 10x'd it, man. We killed it. We knocked it out of the park, baby.
Will you, just as a note, will you put underneath or like the mosaic page?
Well, here's what's going to happen.
Okay.
So now, as you guys know, if you first time on, guys have been on before, we're going to reshare this. Danny's going to be able to reshare this. Now, Danny's going to connect with all these people that typed in. You're going to be able to share whatever information you have.
Cool.
Then, when we upload it on our YouTube, every time we promote, you get promoted. Now you have footage to do whatever you want with.
Cool.
So that's our goal here, is to bring as much value as we can,
Cool.
right, to the people. So, as you know, how we end this, we call it the Monster Motivator Roar. Now, I have people ask, right, and I thought there was going to be asked yesterday, why is that? And here's why, Danny. Two things. Is you have a choice. You can live your life, and this doesn't mean strength. This doesn't mean physical strength. You can live your life as a lion, or you can live your life as a kitten. And that's completely up to you. Whatever works, works. Now, I also believe that we're only in one state at a time. So we're either in gratitude, or we're in victim, or we're in happy, or we're in joy, or we're in anger, or we're in sorrow. We only have one state at a time.
Okay.
What the Monster Motivator Roar does for me, it puts me in a state that I just feel so empowered.
Cool.
So that's why we're going to do this. So guys, Monster Motivator TV, keep making it happen. Don't stop. Don't let the naysayers tell you can't do it. Keep making it happen, Monster Motivator style, and me and Danny are going to take this show out with the Monster Motivator Roar. Now, the sound is just as important as the pose. You ready?
Okay.
On three.
Ready?
1, 2, 3.
Ah!
That's a state, baby. That's a state.
Thank you, brother.